Comedian. He tells the jokes. At the end of the show, he said, the damn piano player never showed up. Okay, we got it? 2 minutes. 2 minutes, okay. Yeah, I say that about we have nothing to be ashamed of because there's a songwriter named John Cassandra. I listen to these young guys, these young rappers, and I remember the Last Poets. Yeah. Remember them? The first rappers? The revolution will not be televised. Woo! But where was I going with that? We have nothing to be ashamed of, right? John Cassandra once wrote a line, he said, "Ain't I the damnedest thing you ever seen? I've been treated like a mule and turned out a human being." We have this month, I'm glad we have this month, but my wish is that we as a people would honor it more. And what I mean by that is this. My Jewish brothers and sisters do a thing. It's called Seder. When they get together around the table with the family, they talk about the crossing. They talk about the liberation. They talk about their ancestors. They have certain foods on the table that represent the journey that they had to. They have bitters to remember the tears. Certain foods they had to eat when they were leaving Egypt. We as a people, African-American peoples, we need a Seder. We need a Seder. When we sit around the table and talk about great-great-great-great-great-great-grandma and great-great-great-great-great-great-grandpa and what they went through and the tears that they had to shed so that you and I can be sitting here today. We need to honor our past more. Hold them up and say, thank you. Thank you. Because there was you, there is me. I can talk about this stuff because I did roots. I have a right. This piece of the inaugural I did in Reagan's administration. He said, I was naive. I just finished doing roots. So I figured, hey, the world's ready for the truth. When I first heard about Bert Williams, it was like this. I was in a show called Pippin down the street. And thank you very much, which I want to tell you for. And I was in a bar in a place called the Paradise. I'm sitting with a friend of mine. And this guy comes in, and we're sitting there talking, and he looks at me and says, "You've been Vereen, aren't you?" I said, "Yeah, I've been Vereen." He says, there was a time in this country when a black man couldn't appear on a stage unless he wore blackface. I said, "Get out of here." He said, "I'm black already, man. I'm blackface." He said, "No, it's true. It's true." I said, "Come on." So he went away, and the next day I come to the theater, and there's a book laying on my dressing room door called Bert Williams. So I opened the book, and I started reading about the atrocities this man went through, and about how this all came about. And I said, somebody's got to say something about this. Somebody. So I did a piece. Showing Bert Williams and what he must have went through. I have no idea what my ancestors went through in order for me to be here, but I honor them. I honor their struggle. I honor their journey. I honor their love and determination, their tenacity. So I decided to do a piece on Bert Williams. And it starts off with him in the dressing room and Eddie Cantor. He talks about Eddie Cantor and the people he worked with in the Ziegfeld Follies. He puts on his black face and he comes out and he does his cakewalk. He reads his poetry and his satires. And at the end of the piece, he goes to offer to buy a drink. This actually happened. To buy a drink for the audience. He says, "Oh, y'all so wonderful tonight. I'm going to buy drinks for all of you." That's right. Drinks are on the house, honey. We're going to get sloshed. A bartender. Bartender. Drinks on the house. On me. What? Yeah, I know. Oh. sorry, sir. I just forget myself sometimes. Y'all show was a wonderful audience. Y'all come on back and see me sometime. And he goes to his dressing room. And he sits in his dressing room table. He says, oh, this show was a good audience tonight. And he has a white cloth. He takes the white cloth and he starts to take off his makeup. And he stops and looks and he sees the black on the white. And he sings, I never done nothing to nobody. I never got none for nobody no time. But until I get something from somebody sometime, well, I ain't gonna do nothing for nobody no time. And he pushes the white and black glove out. And that was the piece. Now, when I did it at the inaugural, because they said, well, why'd you do it for him? Because he needed to see it. Why'd you do it for Reagan? Because Reagan needed to see it. Everybody else talking about, go, Ronnie, go, Ronnie. I said, yeah, Ronnie, catch this. We're going to do something about that. I was protesting for us. Ready? No? Okay. So I leave the inaugural and I'm at this party, and Ronald Reagan's daughter comes and says, oh, thank you, Ben, for doing that. My father turned back, he leaned back to me and said, why is he doing that? I said, because you need to see it. The next day I'm going to the inaugural and my musical conductor says, brace yourself, Ben. I said, why? He said they didn't show the whole piece. They cut it in half. So all you saw was the buffoonery. You never saw the resolve. Sabotage. The next day, the headlines in the Chicago Defender was Vereen, disgrace to the race. I got phone calls threatening me. If I ever did that piece again, they'd watch my show from behind a rifle. My people turned against me. Whew. I felt like a man without a race, without a country. Called Johnny Carson and said, Johnny, let me go on the show and explain what happened, man. Click. Frank, come on, man. Click. Jesse, click. The only one who stood beside me was a guy named Dick Gregory. He said, come on, let's go face it. He traveled with me. He said, bless them. Bless them. Give them love. I said, listen, I'll debate you because I'm standing on my history. Listen, my Jewish brothers and sisters, do not apologize for the Holocaust. This is a part of our Holocaust as a people. Do you hear me? This is a part of our Holocaust. And those performers like Burt Williams and Mantan Moreland and Stephen Fetchit and all those guys had to go through the humiliation so that our colleges could be built. Let me tell you how this all started, from my understanding. A couple of white actors are out of work during slavery. And they come by this plantation, they see, us doing our thing, trying to lift our hearts on Sunday, singing songs and dancing. They said, hey man, I got a great idea. What's that? Why don't we black up and do them? I said, yeah, good idea. So they started this thing called the minstrels. You had Mr. Bones, Mr. Tad Bones, and y'all was a Bones, and oh, y'all was a son, what's that? And you know how old you is? No, I don't know how old I am. The interlocking would be between them. Slavery is abolished. Now the African Americans are coming off the fields, and they're seeing these shows, and go, wait a minute, we can do us better than they're doing us. So why we get into, show business? They got up on the American stage. A lot of them were tarred and feathered, lynched, burned. They said, you will not get on the American stage unless you wear blackface, because we want to see your black skin. It's sort of like the African-American woman, mama, great-great-grandmama. Watch the atrocities, watch what was going on, and she was having her babies, and if the child was not born, see, understand something. Black history didn't start with Motown. We go back. We go way back. You see, the thing about it is that in my time, I wasn't taught black studies. It wasn't happening when I was growing up. That's why when Roots came along, I said, I got to be a part of that. I don't care if I'm just a guy on the boat going, let me out of here, let me out of here. I want to be a part of that because we need to hear that stories. We need to hear our stories. You see, the thing about my Jewish brothers and sisters, Hitler's ego was so big, he filmed everything. So we caught it. Now my Jewish brothers and sisters can show it every Sunday. They make feature films about it. Schindler's List. All these great movies about it, but we don't have it. We don't have those films because what we have is word of mouth. Word of mouth. What happened? Word of mouth. What was going on? Shh, I'll tell you. But we are a great people. We must talk about ourselves and our greatness. We must tell our children of our greatness. So this young man here who says that, he says that nothing has changed since cotton fields. Let's go back past the cotton fields, back to Africa. Let's go back to the great pyramids. Do you talk to your children about that? Huh? You do, don't you, baby? Yes, you do. You gotta tell them, babies, you were pharaohs, you were kings, you were queens, you were doctors, you were lawyers, you were architects, you were the creators of civilization. They keep lying to me, telling them civilization started with the Greeks. The Greeks? Well, what about my contribution to the whole of everything? What about that African woman who was head of the medical profession in Egypt? What about her? What about that African king, Himhotep? What about them? And what about Djibouti? What about the language? What about hieroglyphics? The Greeks did that? I thought they came and said, first it was Kemet. And they looked at him and said, Egypt, meaning people with dark face, a multicultural civilization. In the desert, people, building pyramids, people. The Sphinx is still there, people, scientists are still scratching their head going, how did they do that? We did that. We did that. This is why our DNA is so strong and powerful. That's why we cannot be stopped. I was talking about great-great-great-great-grandmama. Do you understand something? Marcy would come down from the big house. He said, you, woman, you going to sleep with Jill over this. Yeah, but I don't love him. You going to sleep with him because he's a good, strong buck and I want a baby just like him to work with the fields. So you make love to him and have a baby 9 months later. The head wasn't right. The Marcy would take the baby down by the river and bust his head open like a watermelon. Great-great-great-great-grandmama got smart right away. She said, Marcy, please, listen. I'll do what you want me to do. I'll be your whole. I'll be whatever you want me to do. But please don't kill my male child. Because she said that, Barack Obama is sitting up in the White House today. These are the things we got to be proud of. These are the things. It's not about me doing blackface in front of Reagan who need to see it. at the inaugural. They came to me and said, we got a story. A guy named Will Powell wrote this book called Fetch Clay, Make Man, about Stephen Fetchit and Muhammad Ali. He came to me and said, we want you to do this piece. I said, I don't want to get in that fire again, man. I'm not going to tell you, whoa, no. I'm not going to have people talking about we ain't got no history. I got phone calls like that. Don't you be telling that we ain't got no history. But God is good. I went ahead and did Fetch Clay, Make Man. Because I had met Lincoln Perry some years ago. He came to me when I was doing a show at the Plaza Hotel. And he said, Ben, you gotta vindicate me. They didn't understand. They didn't understand. He was a brilliant man. There were two. It was Step and Fetchit were overlap. And they broke up. Lincoln said he went to Hollywood because they were just calling for black actors to be in Hollywood because they were mammies and that sort of thing. So he went in and he said it was every African American in the United States was there. So he was number 300 and something. So he decided he'd sit on a tree, wait till they called his number. And they called his number, he felt like he waited so long with them, he'd take his time getting to them. So they called his number, he went like this. Time he got up to the desk, they said, you got your job. So Lincoln Perry didn't have a manager, and he's negotiating with them at Fox. And he says, they're offering him the salary, so they pay you $50 a week. He said, that's good. Can I use your phone? I'll call my manager. And he calls Time and negotiates his own contract. He was the highest paid actor in Hollywood, making more money than the white actors. He also told me, he said, they felt that he couldn't read or write. So they allowed him to do his own thing. Because he'd get the scripts and go, no, I'm not going to do that. And he created his own thing. This is genius, people. This is genius. Bert Williams, George Walker, started a group in Harlem, right here in Harlem, called the Frogs. They would do their little minstrel shows around, but they take the money and bring it back to Harlem, people. Tell me something. Are you not hip-hop artists doing that today? Now I see. Make the money, bring it back to the homeland so that the people can rise. So yes, we buffooned. Yes, we rolled our eyes. Yes, we did all that. We had to do all that so that Tuskegee could be built, so the various colleges could be built, so that the doctors and lawyers and the kings and the queens could come forth and without being seen or detected. Meanwhile, we're going, yeah. It's important that we tell the truth without shame. We have nothing to be ashamed of. Yes, they use minstrels to buffoon us, to make us look like fools. Rolling the eyes and the mammies with the big butts and all those sort of things. Yes, they did that to us. But we took it and made it genius. We made it genius. Bert Williams made it genius. Matter of fact, Will Rogers came to Ezekiel Foley and said, how come the niggas making more money than me? He said, because a nigga brings in more people than me. Bert Williams. Bert, how do you think about being an African American, a black man in America? He says, I love being a black man, but in America it's an inconvenience. Now, not to denounce my white brothers and sisters, no. Because understand something, another part I'll tell you about. A lot of us wouldn't be here today if a woman named Harriet Tubman hadn't met a couple of Quakers. Those white Quakers who said, come this way, we'll hide you. They were lynched too. But we don't talk about that. Don't let your egos and your pride get in the way of your truth. Of your truth. That's like this so that we don't honor our own. Yes, we buffooned. Yes, we went through all that. But yes, my Jewish brothers and sisters were in concentration camps. Yes, they were humiliated. Yes, but do they have shame? No. No, they honor their past. You know, we don't talk about Egypt. Because somebody told me that was a land of pagans. So therefore, we do not look at the marvels and the wonders of a people who built pyramids, who had started civilization. We don't talk about them because they're pagans. Anybody ever think about this? There was a guy who became a pharaoh. And they said he looked like Lionel Richie. He was different from the rest of the pharaohs because he came along and he said, why are you worshiping all these things? Actually, the Egyptians were worshiping various animals and things because they were attributes of the human behavior. They say, you ever hear, man, why are you dogging that woman? You know, man, you eat like a horse. You eat like a pig. You know, you ever hear that? Animal aspects of him. So he said, we don't need to do all that. He said, we need to worship the one. The one. Atu. Ra. And then he gathered his people together and he went to build another city where they worshiped Ra, the one God. They didn't like that. The Egyptians didn't like that. So when he died, they put all of his people in chains, made them slaves, and took his name away from all of their history. Anunnaki. And I wonder sometimes, I don't know if it's true, I just wonder. I wonder if my Jewish brothers and sisters came out at that time. Were they the ones that were put in chains and made to become slaves? I asked that question. I got to talk to a professor about that. Because I want to know. Because they're the ones that talk about the one God. The one true God. Call it Ra, call it Allah, call it Buddha, call it Jesus. The one that brings us all together. But we don't talk about Egypt. Because they're pagans. They're pagans in Washington now, messing with my boy. You better watch him, you call him pagan. See what the pagans are. He's trying to do a good job, the pagans all around him. Truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. And be careful, people, because the children are watching how you deal with this whole thing called history. History. His story. I was taught his story. My story is mystery. I got his story, but now I learned my story. Fall into the mystery and find the truth of you. Fall into the mystery of life. All history is to me, all history is a lie agreed upon. But mystery is unfound and unresearched. Come on, we all need to go to Star Trek and become Trekkies. Go to those places where it has not been discovered by man. Then maybe we will come to a place we look each other in the eye and say, I love you. I love you because you're me and I'm you. We're one. I love you. But we got a long way to go. I still dream about those days, though. Yes, I was beat up. But I still dream the impossible dream. And I'll fight the unbeatable foe. We'll have to bear with unbearable sorrows. We may run where the brave dare not go to right the unrightable wrongs, just to love, pure and chaste from afar. We'll strive when our arms are too weary to reach the unreachable star. For this is our quest, to follow that star, no matter how hopeless, no matter how far. Are you willing to fight without question or pause? Are you willing to march into hell for your heavenly cause? And I know if we'll only be true to this glorious quest, our hearts will lie peaceful and calm when we come to our rest. Now the world will be better for this. That one people, scorned and covered with scars, they still strove with their last ounce of courage to reach the unreachable star. Talking at you. Any questions you'd like to ask me? I can answer. Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
I'm wondering.
Can you turn on the mic? One.
Thank you very much. My name is True. I'm the one doing the portrait of you and stuff.
True.
Good meeting you. Thank you very much.
He's done a wonderful portrait of me. It's going on a mural, right?
Yes.
Yay!
A bit of background on that. The New York City Department of Health has sponsored initiatives to try and encourage active lifestyles. So they made funds available to the Youth Arts Academy in Bedford-Stuyvesant to redesign and beautify their stairwell to encourage stairwell use over elevators. And there was a request for proposals, and I submitted a proposal essentially because it's Youth Arts Academy in which youth are taught singing, dancing, instruments, voice, things like that. I wanted to do a mural that was a portrait commemorating members of the community, Bedford-Stuyvesant residents, who went on to have careers doing the things that are taught in that building. So you are the first face that greets people who come in the building. And, above your head it says, I am Vereen. I lived on Fulton Street, just so that the kids understand that you're not just who you are, but you're also of the community. And then it says, I used my talents as a singer, dancer, and actor to make a career performing in film, stage, and television. It's followed by Lena Horne, Yubi Blake, Stephanie Mills, and Max Roach. And at the top there is a board with a QR code at the bottom that people can scan with their phones, which leads to a website with more information about all of them.
Excellent.
Now, I know that most people are probably most familiar with your role as Chicken George in Roots. I know that's probably my introduction when I was a kid, watching that. But I'm wondering, in all of the things that you've done, in all of the places that you've done them, what has been the most spiritually significant role for you?
This one right here. Took me a lot to come up to Harlem and talk about this today. It's a lot, you know. And you know, that's like asking me which one of my children do I like best. Because I love all the works I've done, even the good ones, and all the good ones, and of course all the bad ones as well, because the bad ones told me what not to do, you know. But I guess for the public, Chicken George, you know, Pippin would be one of the others, you know. But I loved all my roles because it's like, for me, it's my college. It's where I learn, you know, this is where I learn. Any other questions? Yes.
You're one of my favorite people. I'm so glad to be here. My name is Mary Jones, and the question I wanted to ask you was, what inspired you to go into show business, particularly theater?
My mother. Well, what happened was this. I lived in Brooklyn on Fulton Street, and I was about 9 or 10 years old. And in those days, it was just when tokenism was coming in. You guys remember tokenism?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
The people token black. You remember that? You know that token? You couldn't ride it on the subway, but you know you could token. Well, this guy, this white brother was coming down the street, and they were looking for young kids because they were beginning to. There was a studio called Star Time Dance Studio, and they were looking for blacks to put into the studio to see how to token. And so he was coming down the street, and I was out there playing stickball, carrying on. And he said, "Your mama home?" I said, "Yeah, she up there." So he goes up to 3 flights of stairs on Fulton Street there, and next thing mama was looking around, "Ben, come upstairs, come with Bunny." She called me Bunny. "Bunny, come upstairs." So I came upstairs, the guys telling my mother book and all these things. "Oh, your kid's gonna be a big star. Hey, yeah, I'm gonna take him, put him on film, send him out to Hollywood." And I said, "Take him." And, but it's interesting, you know. I really didn't see a Broadway play until I was in it. I never went to Broadway. The first production, matter of fact, I'm doing a show called Tenacity, where I talk about my upbringing. And the first show that I ever was in was in Brooklyn, at the Brooklyn Academy. I was 12 years old. It was called The King and I. But I'd never seen a Broadway theater until I was actually in a show, and that was Sweet Charity. And I went to the High School of Performing Arts. You know, that's where I got my training. And I'll never forget, because I used to sing in a quartet group called Sensational Twilights of Brooklyn. You know, the brothers with a processed hair. What processed hair? That's what they be. Daddy came home one day, and he was a fan of Dick Clark or Dick Tracy. We looked, and he came, and we used to use lye. Remember that? Before, you know, he came home with his products, he used to use lye and potato to make this thing and shake it up. And Dad was in there mixing this stuff up. I said, "Come here, boy." He took my head, he slapped the stuff on my head, he slapped it on his head. Next thing, we both looked like Dick Tracy. And I remember going to class that day. I'm sitting in my class, and this little girl was looking over at me. I said, I looked down at my hand. Oh, my hair was out. I said, "Oh!" I came running home, and Dad was in there from that. But anyway, that was what we were trying to look like, you know, my white brother and sister. But this group, we all wore these sharkskin suits. God, that's much now. And I used to style myself out as a sad cook. Soul stirs. Yeah, man. You know, oh, baby, don't you weep. Oh, Martha, don't you mourn. Oh, baby, don't you weep. There was a woman in the Bible day. She had been sick for so very long. Then she heard Jesus was passing by. So she joined the gathering throng. That's how I got started in the church, you know. But then I was here in performing arts, and man, I saw people who were in the art, really in the arts. I mean, they were different. I mean, little girls. That was the reason why I stayed in dance school. Because there were no guys in the class, all girls, man. The guys on the football fields, I'm going, guys! I walked in there, they were dressed in tights and leotards, and I'm sitting there in my cut-off pants and U.S. kids sneakers and white t-shirts, my daddy skinny brim hat, and I get up there and I do a dance to Killer Joe. Dee-dee-dee, dee-dee-dee-dee-dee-dee. Next I saw a guy get up there and do some fabulous dance, and I go, wow, that's what it's all about? Whew. I made that school, high school of performing arts. So and I didn't go to the theater even then. It wasn't until after I was in school, I got out of school, and I did a play called The Prodigal Son, written by a guy named Langston Hughes, and directed by Frank Carroll. And that was my first production. And then I auditioned for a show called, I went to summer stock, I auditioned for Sweet Charity, and met Bob Fosse, and that's when I went to the theater. And that's the first time I got into the theater. So I was a late bloomer. Any other questions? Yes? Is that mic working yet?
Hello. How are you? I met you in Feinstein's a few years ago, sitting in front. I was so blessed to have met you. So I have two things. One, I don't know if Pam Cooper is here tonight. Okay, so then I'll talk to you directly. I'm working on a short film called Saving Father, and it's... And this project is going to talk on HIV/AIDS in senior citizens, and you're a very handsome, striking senior. I'd love for you to consider playing my father in a role. I have everything you need to know about the project in there. It would be an honor just for you to read it and give me your honest opinion on it. Thank you. I have a question though. Now that business is out of the way. Tyler Perry.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of words ascribed to him in his work. People have said it's coonery and it's buffoonery and all of this stuff. I'd like to know your honest take on his stuff, like House of Pain and Medea and all of these things, because as an African-American woman and as a working actor, sometimes it feels like you can't have any projects out there. He's the only one hiring us, folks. So I want to know what you think about that.
Thank you. That's a good question. Tyler Perry. Buffoonery. They put me down for it. They call it the chitlin circuit. Let me start that out. My feeling is this about Tyler Perry. At least the brother's doing it. And it hurts my heart. That's why I say, we gotta stop tearing ourselves down and start embracing one another. Because we embrace him with the right consciousness, he's gonna turn us. He's done a movie called what? The Good Deed, I mean, he's trying to pull out of that Medea and all that sort of thing. That's like Bert Williams, man, Tadpole, and Step and Fetch It. All we had to do, now this man's got a whole studio down in Atlanta. And he's hiring us. You gotta stop putting them down. know, I want to go to Spike Lee, say, Spike, no, no. Take brother aside. Don't go to the press and go like, do it. No, take him aside and say, yo, what are you doing? Okay, how can we work together? How can we work together?
Yes.
Right? You know, there's a story about my Jewish brothers and sisters. There's a story about this black guy and this Jewish guy go down south. And they go to this hotel in Florida, and they see a sign that says, no Jews, no blacks, no dogs allowed. The brother comes back and goes, man, you know, we're down there, the Jewish brother said, Harriman, I looked down there, you know, and I couldn't get in. He said, no Jews, no green, you know, blacks allowed. I didn't know what to do. He says, that's all right. Harriman, come over here. Okay, let's get together. They get together, they hire an Anglo-Saxon lawyer. He goes down there, buys a hotel, not all of Florida. You hear what I'm saying? Coming together and honoring one another, we can make a change for ourselves and for the world. That's my feeling about Tyler Perry. You know? Let the brother do it. Support him. Give him love. Give him love. Buffoonery is a part of our history. Look, people, when they put on those concerts, when he puts on those concerts in town, you can't get a ticket. So somebody's lying to me about we being ashamed of where we come from. Huh? No, support the brother and encourage the brother to do more artistic work in our vein than we need done. Yes, sir.
My name is Sid. I'm a little older than most of the younger people here, obviously. I did see the Pippin, okay? I love film. I've been following film a long time. And I did see Good Deeds. I will say, I think it's his best work, without question. To me, he showed growth, because personally, I've had a problem with the buffoonery, okay, personally, because it just seems that that's the only thing that people seem to know how to make or can get any funds to make. You just had a beautiful film, Red Tails.
You better talk. You better talk.
It was there for a moment. It's out of the theater now. I don't know how many people got a chance to see it.
Nice.
Beautiful thing, okay. Yeah, not enough. Not enough. That's the thing. That's the issue. Now, I also just went, I love the theater. I saw Gershwin's Porgy and Bess. Okay? I don't know how many of you have seen that. And there was a lot of controversy even about that issue. And, you know, there was a film made with Portier, Dorothy Daniels, remember people? Nobody here has seen that film in years.
Oh, no.
So you have it privately? Okay, you have your own copy. Because they won't show it. They won't show that. And Sidney, just like you mentioned about getting a lot of negative feedback, Sidney got a lot too. He actually didn't want to play that part, but they kind of told him if he didn't play, he would have been blackballed. But I wanted to know if you had a chance to see Porgy and Bess.
Yes.
The new.
Brilliant.
Okay, very good. So
That was amazing. And I'm glad you bring this up because of the fact that, you know, that's what I'm saying. You know why Red Tails didn't last? We didn't support it. And you know why Harry Potter's still going on? Because y'all support it. Hello? Y'all support Harry Potter, but you won't go see Black with Red Wings about the Black Tuskegee. Oh, man.
And just to finish it off, there's an excellent book. It's an older book now. In the 80s it first came out. Don Vogel's book.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is an excellent book. Mammies, Bugs, Toms, Coons, and Mulattoes.
Yes.
All right? Basically, he talked about just the roles that black people were given. You couldn't, if you didn't want to play one of those roles, you couldn't play a part. And I know you know that. You've been there. And it's interesting. I just found out about this today. Last night, I just happened to have watched Hollywood Shuffle again. You know, which is a classic. But I just want to say thank you. I really appreciate all the work. I really do.
Thank you. Yes, that's a good point. You see, it will remain like that until we do something about it. Until we support our own. You know, there's no reason why Red Tails came out and it went away. It's a part of our history. It's a part of our history. So we need to support our history. There should have been lines around the block for months and years. But no, we're going to see Raiders of the Lost Ark. Where we ain't in it. Harry Potter. I look at Harry Potter and go, where am I in there? Oh, finally someone got hip and put a few of us in the classrooms. But none of us were named leading roles. There was a show I was watching today called Pan Am. Where were we? I know I was alive. I've never seen Pan Am. Were we even here? I think we are here. But it's up to us, the people, to make the change. You see, everybody look to Obama. And they go, well, the thing was change. And then you say, okay, we're going to elect you president for change. But Obama can't change anything. We are the changers to make the change. That supports the changer. You hear me? Yes. We are the changers to make the change, which supports the changer. Then his job becomes easier. And you see the things that he laid out for us come to fruition because of the fact that we are standing up behind it. Same things with the film and cinema and our artists who are up there trying to struggle. Same thing with Arch McDonald down there working a young off, doing a great job. But how many of us are going down to see Porgy and Bess? But we'll go see Tyler Perry. Huh? Yeah, we'll go see Tyler Perry. Why is that? Why is that? We have education. Education. Well, look, a lot of us feel that the theater is not really ours. But the theater belongs to the people. It is ours to express ourselves in. And the roles will continue to roll around. They do it on TV until, do you notice lately on TV, ever since Barack Obama been elected, that we've been getting less and less roles? It reminds me of a woman named of Max Sinclair. Right after we did Roots, she goes to ABC and she said, now ABC, you got to understand something about Roots. Rich Man, Poor Man came out and it was a flop. So ABC had already made the contract with David Wolper and with Stan Margulies to put Roots on. And now the network is shaking their head going, my God, why did we sign this thing with these people? We got to do this show. Okay, let's put on the 1 week and they'll forget about it. We came on the air for 1 week. Bing! Still flying. I was making a point here. What did I say? Actually, Matt Sinclair, thank you. So Matt Sinclair, and I'm 65 now, so those things happen. Matt Sinclair, I'm proud to have it. Matt Sinclair goes to ABC and she says, I got this fabulous script. I'd like you to look at it. And they go, well, honey, we've done our quota. That's because we do not stand behind our artists. We do not stand behind our artists who are there for us to express our inner feelings and our truths and our intelligence. And how come there is not a story about, how come there are no black doctors? How come there are no black African-American lawyers? No, a lead role TV show, you know? Did you tune in and go, wow, I'm going to watch Vereen as the detective of the year? How come? It's because we do not support it. We do not write the networks and go, I want to see more of me in this TV show because I'm supporting you by buying the products that you're shoving down my throat. I want to see more of me on the TV. I want to see more of me in the leading roles of movies. Now, I know there's more actors out there than Denzel Washington. And Denzel's brilliant. Thank God we got Denzel. But wasn't for Denzel, hello, bye. I want to see more of me in the cinema. I want to see more of me on television. And not just playing Mammy. And not being killed off in the first scene. We got to change to make the change. If we don't change, nothing's going to change. Dream that impossible dream. Let's go for it. Let's make this our commitment to ourselves, to our children's children. Because if we don't do something about it, it's going to be harder for them. Because believe me, somebody's working to push us back, 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 back. But we got to go, no, you will not. Too many people have died. Too many people have suffered. Too many people have cried. Mammy has cried. Mama's cried so much. For us to be here today in these universities, in the White House. It's not a black thing, people. It's not just a black thing. It's a people's thing. It's a God thing. It's a God thing because God don't like it. Keep praying to Jesus, praying to God, and talking about then you're going to separate churches. Talk about love your brother, then come out and beat each other on each other. God don't like it and doesn't like what's going down in the cinemas at all. We're the ones who make the change. You want to change? Go home tonight, pick up your pencils and papers, or get on your computers and write Hollywood. Write Hollywood. Tell them what you want. And when you leave here, don't let this just be a lecture, just talking about this Black History thing. You go home, you talk to your families about it. You talk to your grocer about it. You talk to your work people about it. And have them get on their computers and write Hollywood and make it equal all the way around. Thank you. Good night.